Alright guys, we are here with the official Incon build right now, guys, for Season 3. This is the build that I've been running. This is when I've been looking at other pro players, when I've been playing my ranked games, when I've been playing my scrims, when I've been doing all of that stuff, putting it all together, plus the style that I like to run. We're going to talk about the build that we're running with from start to finish, and kind of talk about why we're doing this. Let's get leveled up here, because why not? We get 100 HP per level on Athena, so that's fun. And that sound is really exciting, so. You can even rank up all of our skills, even though it doesn't really matter. So, I do not like running the Winged Blade build. The Winged Blade build is being run by a lot of people right now. I do not think it is the most efficient build. I think that Winged Blade is a great item, and that you can throw it in your build situationally, but that you should not be doing Winged Blade all the time. This first part of the build, I actually credit to Aurora, who I have seen doing this more than anybody else, and he's why I'm starting my build of this now. So outside of course, you know, your normal build, you start with your Watcher's Gift, etc. We're just going to go right into the full build. Talaria boots are going to be the boots that you buy, and they're going to be the first real item that you buy. Not any of the other boots, but Talaria. And I'm dead serious. I know you're looking at me right now. You're looking at me. You're like, no, look at me. Look at me. You're like, I'm the support now. Your build's done. It's over. No, I'm serious. Talaria boots, by far the worst stacked out of any of the boots. They only give 20 magical power and 18% movement speed. But the thing is, one, the passive movement speed for you is great. Who cares about the passive HP 5? Don't worry about it. Not relevant. That additional movement speed helps you get between the lanes, so you can get your XP more. But more importantly, the 30 gold you get from hitting other gods is super crucial. It may not sound like a lot, but you're pretty much hitting 3 to 4 gods in that 90 seconds every time. So every minute and a half, you're getting an extra 90 to 120 gold. This is adding up to every 10 minutes, like upwards of 1,000 gold. So you need the gold. If you don't get the gold from these boots, you're going to find that you're behind every other player in the game by 1 to 2k given the point in the game. And so you really need to get them. By getting Talaria boots, you get your other items faster. You get your other items faster. You get tankier earlier. Warning, you'll be kicked if you remain idle. Really? I'm discussing, game. Leave me alone. And to clarify, yes, this is a general every support build. Little variations, of course, on different supports, but Talaria boots on every support, and this next item on every support. The next item that we're going to get, which we get every single time as our second main item. So we have our Watcher's Gift, we get our Talaria boots, and then we get our first defensive item, and that's going to be Hide of the Urchin. We get Hide of the Urchin no matter what. There is no situation in which we will not be getting Hide of the Urchin. It gives too many protections for too cheap, and you want it early so you can get the passive going. Because you're going Talaria boots and not like cooldown boots, you're low on mana, so this will help give you mana. The health is great. 250 health is actually it's quite a bit of health now for items. Very few items even give health anymore that aren't crappy, because the health tree is completely garbage. You get both protections, which of course you're going to need both, but more importantly, you get the stacks going early, and because the stacks give you another 30 of each magical and physical, you need to be getting it early. You need to be getting it early. So, these next 3 items you can buy, and you need to buy, in a different order depending on the enemy team composition you're going against. I recommend generally 2 of these no matter what, and the third one is pretty standard, but maybe you wouldn't want to get it. So we're going to get right into it. with either or, okay, depending on what you're going against. Bulwark of Hope. Bulwark of Hope is extremely strong. Yes, it's getting nerfed, but let's talk about that really quick. It's taking away 10 health per level, which is 100 health on the shield, or 100 health on the shield at level 20. Not a big deal. And of course, the shield will no longer stay on you after a fight ends, which is a bigger deal. But the point being, it still gives you CCR, it still gives you a little bit of health, it gives you the magic protection, and it's the best like health-related item because you get the bubble, which not only is bonus health, but it's bonus health people don't expect, which a lot of the times lets you get away. If you're going against a team with more than just a mage middle, I'd recommend this. So they have a mage middle and an outquitting in the jungle. They have a mage middle and a Freya ADC. I'd recommend going right into the Bulwark of Hope. If they don't have double mage, so they just have their guardian and they have their mage, you can still think about going this, but you may want to lean towards the other item. And if they have like a Odin support and it's only one single magic damage on the team with a mage middle, then I would not get Bulwark yet, and I would get the other item first. So, what's the other item? Your other core item you want to get pretty early is going to be Breastplate of Valor. Breastplate of Valor. So, the thing about Breastplate of Valor is it doesn't give you very many, it doesn't give you any HP, right? So that's why you have to get the urchin earlier. You have the urchin earlier, which gives you the HP, so you have the leeway to get an item without HP. The Breastplate of Valor, of course, is great to get as your third slot item. Of course, situational here with Bulwark, flipping back and forth depending on the team comp you're going against. It gives you the physical protections, which you need for things like tanking towers, tanking the Gold Fury, etc. The majority of team compositions will be 3 physical, 2 magical. So for the most part, generally, it's going to be the better defense item. It gives you a ton of mana, which, like we said, because you didn't go mana boots, it's nice. You don't really need the mana because you have the urchin, but this will put you in a less requiring to do any sort of mana meta. You don't have to worry about your mana consumption for the most part. And then really why we're getting this is the cooldown reduction. Specifically on gods that really like the cooldown, like Athena, this is a really good third item after the urchin. Like I said, unless they have a bunch of crazy magical damage dealers. Geb would love to get an early Bulwark of Valor. A god that maybe doesn't need it so much, Khepri. Khepri not so much needing the cooldown as much as other gods. So maybe even if they have a little extra physical damage, you go the Bulwark of Hope just because it's more health. You could do something like that. You just got to think about it in game the way you're going about it. So I would recommend getting all of this, though. I would still get Bulwark, or I would still get Breastplate of Valor. Bulwark of Valor, yes. I would still get Breastplate of Valor on Khepri. I just wouldn't necessarily feel the need to be getting it. I gotta have it right now. You don't have to have it right now. You can, you can get your Bulwark of Valor Kappa. So this is all set. The next item you can kind of vary. For me, for the most part, the item that I like in this slot is Midgardian Mail. Of course, like I said, teams lean towards physical heavy. All map objectives are leaning towards being physical damage heavy, and it gives you a great amount of health. One of the few items in the game. In fact, probably I think it's the highest HP item in the game. Even the health items, I think, only give 350, right, at the most. So, a ton of health. Okay, physical protections. It's not really valid protections. The reason why you get Midgardian is it's decently cheap and you get the sick passive. Midgardian Mail has the best passive in the game, probably, in terms of especially boxing goes. When you get hit by a basic attack, there's a chance that you slow your enemy's movement speed and attack speed for 2 seconds. Extremely strong passive, and it puts you in the front line. You don't have to worry about getting hit by people. Chat mentioned, yes, like things like Warlocks and Ethereal Staff give more, but I mean defensive items. Those are more aggressive items. Warlocks actually like, 100 magical power, so like even if it's health item, it still gives a lot of magical power. So this is kind of rounding out your build. You get more physical protections because even though you have decent protections, you're still not super tanky, and you're never going to be super tanky, honestly. I hate to break it to all the supports out there. You're not going to be super tanky. You pretty much never will be unless you get ahead early, in which case you're getting your build done early. For the most part, you got to be careful because you're going to be squishy throughout the entire game. So watch yourself, watch your positioning. You may not want to use your, dashes and stuff to go into the wave. You may want to be using them to get out of a fight. So just be careful with that. You're going to be in a lot of trouble in that situation. The final item you're going to want in this build is going to be Spirit Robe. A lot of people like the Mantle of Discord, but not in this build. You get the Spirit Robe as this final item. Sometimes I get Spirit Robe before I get Midgardian Mail. That's totally fine. Especially on gods like Athena that like cooldown, because it does give you an extra 10% cooldown. The big reason why we're getting Spirit Robe over, what's this called, Desolation? Discord, Mantle of Discord. The big reason why we get Spirit Robe over Discord is the following two things. CCR, it finishes up our CCR, so we get the full 40% now, right? We get the full 40%. And the passive on Spirit Robe is better than the passive on Discord. You get 15% damage mitigation for 3 seconds when you're hit by the hard CC. Combine that with, of course, you get low on your health and you get the Bulwark of Health proc. If you have the Midgardian Mail, they're slowing their attacks. It gets hard to kill you the lower you're getting. So this gives you 30% CCR, a lot of protections because you have several items devoted to each, plus 2 items I give you from both. And after you finish your entire build, right, you've gotten your Talaria already, so you got all your items from it. You sell your Talaria, and you finish with Shoes of Focus.
Very nice.
Thank you, Athena. Very nice. You don't want to sell your boots until you have the rest of the build finished, because your boots are giving you gold to get the rest of your build finished. They're giving you the gold. That's the whole point of why we got them. Don't sell them early to get the cooldown boots, because then you're not going to get your other item as fast. That means you're finishing up the build with full cooldowns. Let's look exactly what kind of stats we have here. So looking at our final build, adding 30, of course, to our physical and magical protections on top of what we already have, because we don't have the urchin stack, so don't forget that factors in. This build ends up with 294 physical protections. It ends with 213 magical protections. You have the full CCR. You have 3,300 health on Athena, of course. HP 5, like I said, who cares? And then you have the full 40% cooldown at the end of the game as well. And tons of mana. Tons and tons of mana to do pretty much whatever you please with. And then, of course, things that don't factor in, you have the passive from Bulwark, which is an extra effective, what, like 350 health? 400 health. Hey, thank you here, guys, for the sub, man. Thank you for the support of the Twitchiest community on Twitch. I appreciate it. You have the Midgardian passive, which is the best passive in the game. So you're slowing auto attacks as people are attacking you. And you have the Spirit Robe passive, which is the only passive in the game that might be better than Midgardian Mail. Matty Pocket's a noob. Don't listen to anything he says. Don't listen to him. He's a tiny boy. He's a tiny boy, Matty. You so tiny. No, I'm kidding, Matty. I love you. Please, don't hurt me. Carry me. Carry me, oh solo lane master of all things solo. So this is the support core build that you're going to want to be running right now, for the most part, on all of your gods for support, right? As far as actives go, at level 1, okay, so here's the deal. At level 1, if you're a god that needs blink for initiation, buy the blink. So, your Geb, your Sylvanas, Odin, whatever. Any of the core support gods that need blink, you have to get it at level 1 so you can initiate your team fights. If you don't need blink level 1, you then go to another process. You tier down to the next two actives. Weakening Curse and Heavenly Agility. These are your next two major options. How do you choose between them? Am I an aggressive support and am I laning with an aggressive ADC? If both of those are not met, you get Heavenly Agility. Because Heavenly Agility can be used aggressively and defensively. Weakening Curse pretty much just aggressively. If you are an aggressive ADC and support, so you're a Medusa and a Sobek, you're a Ymir and a Chiron, then you can go ahead and get Weakening Curse. For the most part, you're going to end up getting either Blink or Sprint because that specific situation isn't going to be met, but if the situation arises, you can. Or if they have healers at level 1 that you're already worried about. Do they have a Ra in the mid lane? And you know his heal's going to be a problem. Do they have a Sylvanas? Do they have a Sylvanas and a Guan Yu? There is situations where you can pick it up otherwise, but for the most part, you're getting Sprint outside of them having excessive healers on their team. So let's assume that we're Athena. We don't need Blink because we have a dash. So we're getting Sprint because we're like medium aggressive on Athena. For your second active, you have a lot of choices, except for you have no choice because there's only one active you can get in your second slot ever because you didn't get it in your first slot, and that's Shell. You can get Shell as your first active, which is fine, but generally you're going to want to do getaway skills or the attack as your first active, and then get Shell second. It can work, but you have to have Shell on support because Shell is such an incredible active, especially when the team fights start happening around, which is right around level 10, 11, 12, which is when you get your second active. Other active that we have, you can't afford to get Girdle ever. We talked about you can get Weakening. You can get Aegis if you need it and you didn't need Blink. Your Geb, you can't get it because you had to get Blink and then Shell. Your Sobek, you got Aegis at level 1 because they have a Poseidon and an Isis and a Ymir, and you're worried about getting frozen by Ymir and then blown up by both of those, but you probably should have gotten Beads instead. Which brings up Beads. You can get Beads at level 1 if you don't need Blink. Not as good as for your team as getting Weakening Sprint, but you can do it. That's Blink. Wrath of the Gods. Ha 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 ha! Okay, teleport to towers. You're not a solo laner. Solo laners ruin everything that support has ever had, so you should hate them. Sunder. Scout. Good active. Would love to get it on support. Can't afford to because the other actives are better. Shell, of course. Meditation. Good active. You can think about getting it as your level 1 active. You can think about getting it as your level 1 active if you don't need Blink and you're against an execute related opponent. So think Quang. If you're against Quang, well-timed meditations can really mess him up. Your ADC gets below the threshold. He ults. You meditate while he ults. It cancels his execute. Very difficult to pull off. It is possible. You can think about it or mess with it. See how you like it. Other than that, guys, that is the support build that we are running here in Season 3. This is the best build that we can come up with right now. A lot of supports are running variants of this build. And like, of course, I said, shout out to Aurora for convincing me that Talaria boots are the truth. And thank you for everybody that supports my YouTube channel by subscribing.